So, thank you for tuning in to this new segment that I have going on, which is going to be called A Week in Recap. Now, I am talking about the three companies that I currently manage, and that is JIL, which is Junction Integrated Logistics, JCT, which stands for Junction Collaborative Transports, and JTW, which stands for Junction Transfer and Warehousing. So the reason for this recap is so that we can start having conversations about the challenges I face, my team faces. As I always tell them, I wish that I could do everything that there is to do, let alone with one company, but all three, all by myself. But that's not the reality. That will never be the reality. And if I want to continue providing services and succeeding at them, I will always need my team. So that's the main angle that I'm working with here, is to allow people to know what we go through as logistics personnel, or what I like to call logisticians. And so that is the reason for this, so that we can give this whole reality a face and a more personal perspective, so that those who are unaware of what we really do start becoming aware about it, and they have a better connection, or an emotional connection, as you might say, so that they understand and comprehend what we go through. With that said, start working on the recipe. This is the first one, so please bear with me. As everything else, the first one is always a rough one. Everything else from there usually starts getting refined, smoothed out, and I am sure in a year I am going to be a professional at these. So without further ado, thank you for sticking around, and here we go. So basically, what I am going to start off with is how my week was, right? Because ultimately, Junction or the JCT companies are me, and without me, I feel that we would not exist realistically. So, for example, for me, my week wasn't as hectic per se, but I did take on a few more responsibilities that made my week a little more busy and more hectic per se. And what were those responsibilities? So I, against even my better judgment, decided to add myself to more emails that would help me keep track of the customer experience, and to make sure that we are replying and communicating with all our customers in a timely fashion, in a successful way. Now, the funny part about that is that I used to do that when we were a lot smaller, and we were very good, and we succeeded at it very easily. We still do today, although I feel that the issue that we have had is the COVID remnant perspective, which is to say that the speediness wasn't there, although the communication was. It just wasn't as fast. So what that means for me in my regular workday is that I now have close to a few thousand more emails to worry about. But like everything else in life, I've always been a lazy type of mentality person, which means that I always find the easiest way to do something. And so thankfully, I've found the little nuances or intricacies to going through those emails. And so the first day was very hectic, and I was losing my mind. I don't know if any customers, partners, or anyone who called me, texted me, or emailed me noticed that within the conversations, but it was very difficult, and I had a hard time getting a track of it. But the next day, after having learned what I needed to do and how to align the emails in a certain way or where to send them so that I could look at them at a later time because those weren't as important, then it started becoming a little easier, and by Friday I was knocking those things out, and it was becoming extremely easy to actually get to them. And I know, knowing myself, that within a week or two I'm going to be going through these like, bread on butter, smooth, so that's kind of like my week. Aside from that, my week turned into a bit of a weird, because my biggest management throughout the day and throughout the week is just the personnel. So the personnel. I've always said that I love to do what I do, but what drains me the most is always dealing with personnel. It's not something that I do not enjoy, but I feel that as contrary to belief, I am a very emotional person, but it's an inward situation for me where I am inwardly emotional, and so having to deal with other individuals' emotional or input is very difficult. But the week itself wasn't as hard. Everyone was on point. Everyone knew what they needed to do. I feel that I am connecting with my team a lot better now. Everyone's on point. Everyone's with it. Everyone's pushing for it. And I feel that going into the Chinese New Year, which great time of the year for resets and for reconnecting with your team. For us in the Western part of the world who manage individuals, for me, it's a very perfect time to do that and reconnect, and refine the product. So that was my week. My week was not hard because ultimately every week, that's more of a subjective comment, actually. So like, if my week wasn't hard, more so to say that every week is hard. This one wasn't especially harder than others. I guess that's kind of my comment for that one. As for my team's week, or the company's weeks, we had a busy week in the warehousing sector. We had a busy week on the brokerage sector, and as well, we had a very busy week on the drayage sector. The warehouse was a bit more of a dealing with outside factors, which for us in this situation is the rain. We had very rough rains. So the warehousing and the drayage factor suffered a little bit in the sense of the turnarounds, the accuracy in deliveries. It was very difficult to hit the schedules that we wanted, but it wasn't, or the customer wanted, but it wasn't because we didn't want to, obviously. The funny part about California, and especially Los Angeles, is that as soon as it rains, everyone forgets how to drive. What would have been a 30 to 45 minute drive turns into an hour and a half to two. So for us particularly, that was the hardest angle and objective that we had to deal with. Warehousing ended up having to work in the rain. Unfortunately, that's just part of the circus in that angle. We churned out as much as we could. Nothing was missed on our end, and I feel that the outside carriers and partners and our clients also did a very good job in pushing out a lot of their cargo. As far as the drayage angle, we obviously had delays because storms or thunderstorms or whatever you want to call them really affect the operations at the ocean terminals with what they need to do and how they operate and their safety. So a lot of delays happened in the terminals for us. Again, I'm sure this happens because it's out of their control, and I feel that safety is a very important factor for them as well as us. And then as far as the over the road perspective for what we were doing with the drayage for the deliveries on the freeways and all that stuff, that really was hindered a lot. A lot of the times it was as if you were just fighting with yourself, and ultimately we were able to pick up the pieces. Customers were, or the consignees or the shippers were awesome about it. Thankfully they understood, because they also were impacted by it as well, I'm quite sure. As far as the brokerage over the road stuff, a lot of it was non-issue. Everything was on point. Obviously, once they would leave certain areas of Southern California that weren't experiencing excessive rains, it was business as usual. But I do know, just hearing from customers and friends, that Vegas was pummeled as well. So I do agree that a lot of the stuff going to Vegas was a bit problematic. And if you look at the mountains today, today is Sunday, so I'm doing it for tomorrow. The mountains are very snow-capped, so that means that any loads that cleared either the Grapevine or the El Cajon Pass had some issues, I'm sure, just because of the snow and all that. As far as what was good, I don't want this to be a negative situation. The good is just learning. I love to learn. I love to understand what went bad, reinforce the reason for what happened. And in this case, the rain was a huge impact. How do we learn from it? What can we do from it? All I can do is just powwow with my team, with my managers and the on-site, on-ground personnel, and figure out ways of what we could have done or what we can do. As far as the loads themselves, there's nothing much. I feel that we are a very different breed, a very different animal in what we do as far as a company. We deliver, if we have 200 loads first thing in the morning, we're delivering to 150 different locations. We don't have the ease of being able to deliver to just one or two clients every single day. But again, I think that's the challenge, and that's why we are good at what we do, because we're able to flex, react, and act on what needs to be done. As far as personnel, just like everything else, a lot of my people called out just because of the rain, or I don't know, maybe they had a rough weekend or something like that. But I feel like I was dealing with it more so just because of the rain, and maybe a lot of people had to prepare their houses for it or their garages. I don't know, but the good thing about it is the larger part of the team was good to go. They held it down, and we were able to get through a very busy week. Not as busy as most, but we were able to get through it given the 2 to 3 days of just constant rain that we were hit by. As for the overall lessons of the week, I can't teach anyone to accept rain, but I think we can learn to live with it, around it, and all that. So that's kind of something that we are learning right now. So for that angle, I think that's kind of the lesson, is just let's learn to deal with the rain. Let's learn to deal with the rain. Everyone complains about no water or droughts, so I feel that learning to survive in the rain is going to be good. We need to take lessons from those Seattle people who unfortunately get so much rain, or fortunately, I would say. What do I expect for the next week? I expect a slowish week. And the reason for that is, what is it? Chinese New Year, we call it that, or a Lunar New Year is coming through for all those that celebrate with their families, loved ones, and so I feel that a lot of the cargo that was shipped into the country has started hitting the docks, and we will start slowly seeing a dip in cargo, and we will see a little bit of slowness in the next few weeks, but the benefit for us is we're very diversified between rest of the world cargo, not just Asian continent cargo. So I don't feel that we will be as slow as most will be, but all we can do is roll with the punches. As far as personnel, I mean, it's a very sunny day, so I feel that everyone recharges their batteries this weekend, and I don't expect any issues. I think everyone's going to come back with some sun on their skin, and feel a little bit rejuvenated and re-energized. I mean, everyone resets in their own way, and I don't feel that we would have much of an issue with that. And so I do expect a very good coming week. As for what I expect, I feel that we should have a good week. We will have a smooth week, and as always, we're gonna sell. We're gonna get it done, and we're gonna put our foot in our mouth with what we say we're gonna do, and we're gonna do it. So with that, thank you for sticking around. If you stuck around this long, this is number 1, and tune in for the weekly recaps for the Junction Companies, brought to you by me, Julio. Thank you and goodbye.